chairs. Okay, hi everybody. So just full disclosure, I am an early and very happy investor in Transferwise. So I'm not going to give Kristo a hard time on stage, just as a forewarning. But really pleased to have the opportunity to talk to him today. Transferwise has been a huge success story in the Nordics. It's one of the most exciting companies, I think, personally, that's being built here. And I think, Kristo, it'd be great for you to sort of share a little bit about where the idea for the company came from in the first place, and just how easy it was to sort of build this giant in the payments business.
It was definitely exciting. So I was looking around in the audience, and I'm glad that there are not many people here, because I remember when I was building like the first version of Transferwise, I was usually going on until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then sleeping until noon. So I have the empty chairs are all the founders are building the next apps. But as Toby says, it's been fun. Transferwise basically started from my problem where I moved to London, and when I realized that every time I go to my bank and send money back to my savings account in Estonia in euros, like bank takes 5%. And once I found out, I was pretty pissed off. And as we kind of Nordic people do, and maybe the ex-Soviet people, Soviet Union people in general, we always try to find a better way. And the better way for me was then my co-founder, who used to work in Skype. He had the exact opposite problem. So he was sending euros to pounds. So we just started swapping money with each other, and they're kind of bypassed the banks. So we solved the problem for ourselves, but realized that the banks aren't actually going to change anything. And about 5 years ago, we decided that this kind of a homemade solution of money transfer could actually work for more people. We launched in 2011 with a blog post on Transferwise on TechCrunch, saying there's this website called Transferwise. You can put pounds in, and then euros come out in the country where you need them. And since then, on the same day, we had someone put 2,000 pounds on the website. Like 15 minutes after the blog post went live, we were, wow, people are crazy. And now, what is it? 5 years later, we have people move about $700 million every month, and we operate about 400 different routes. So it's been definitely a journey, but I wouldn't say it's been that much kind of hardship. It's been more fun and excitement.
You guys definitely have a fun time, don't you? You have a sauna in the office. Do you want to talk about that?
What do you want to know? I hear there's some press in here, so I think Finnish people know about saunas and know why it's important. When you have an office, you should get a sauna. If your office is in London, it doesn't matter, you get a sauna. So it's not a huge one, it's a small one, but it works great. It works as a meeting space in the during the day, and then in the evenings we use it as it should be used.
Absolutely. Well, since we're here in the Nordics, maybe if you could talk a little bit about what's the banking system here. How does it compare with the rest of Europe or even the world, and how are the banks doing? Are they serving their customers well over here?
So that has been very interesting for me, because when I moved from Estonia to London, I opened my first bank account. I thought, I'm not going to survive in this country. In Estonia, which is very similar to Finland, I never used to go to a bank. That was an alien concept. I used my phone and the internet banking to do everything. But that wasn't the case in the Western Europe, and it gets worse kind of further west you go towards the US. So I got a lot of inspiration in the early days from the kind of the Nordic way of making things simple. So I think people in the north are just kind of lazy, and we have these long summers that we want to take holidays, and then during the long winter, we don't really want to kind of work. We want to make our lives easy, so we build all these great products, and that's been great. So I think Nordic banking system is slightly better than we have in the rest of the world, but unfortunately the industry works the same. banks still hide their profit margin in the exchange rate and take your money without you knowing it. But how do you, let me ask you a question, Toby. You've been investing since Alibaba and Yahoo for a long time. Have you invested in any other fintech business? What do you think about banks in general?
Well, we think the banks are dead. So we think they're dinosaurs that are really on the brink of extinction in general. And yes, in the Nordics, you can clearly see the type of cutting-edge services that are available. But even then, there's still a huge opportunity for startups to pick off very specific products like payments, money transfers, and do that 100 times better than the banks are doing it. So we've invested in a peer-to-peer insurance business. We've invested in some blockchain companies, Bitcoin companies that are helping potentially to replumb the whole financial system. We've invested in something in the mortgage space. So we're very bullish. We're not for the future of the banks, but for any startups that are competing directly.
That's actually been very exciting. Mortgages, especially those kind of long-term banking products, I think they're going to be the last ones that get disrupted. So I'm really happy to hear that there are some that have caught your attention already.
Well, let me turn the table. I mean, you tweet a lot about where the future of banking is going. I think you're very thoughtful about the industry that you're attacking. Where do you think, if you were an entrepreneur working in the fintech space, what do you think are some of the best opportunities?
It's a very good question. It's going to be a long answer, but I see a few trends happening. I think when you say the banks are dinosaurs, I would be more specific. There's this concept of universal banking, the idea that we put our money in the bank and then the bank tells us what we can do with it. I think that concept is fortunately going to die. The concept of universal banking, that you have a bank account and then your pension fund and everything else is provided by the same bank, this is just not going to work. And when I'm meeting banks and also kind of other people in Europe, I kind of remind them of what's happening in the world. So all of our taxes are ordered these days by a company built in Silicon Valley. So why do we think that we're going to have European banks, and why do we think that the banking services, or some of those services, won't just be offered so much better by one or two or three companies rather than 20 banks in all those different countries trying to do everything at once? It's very hard to be a banker these days. Just like the mere problems you have to solve with your old legacy and the regulation coming in. Surely tech startups can do many of those products much better and be able to service much larger patches of people. So that's what I believe what's going to happen is that these universal banks that do everything are just going to be finished. We're going to have payments companies that help people move money between accounts. We're going to have savings companies or robo-advisors that don't take 2% of your money every year for just doing things that my phone can do, just buying stocks for my money. And then you'll have people who do commerce. So that's just going to happen, and it's going to be better products in the end.
No, we agree. The unbundling of the banks into some of these best-of-breed services, they've got such a huge cost overhead with their branches and a huge number of employees. It's very hard for them to compete with startups. And
I think the smarter banks are going to survive. So I saw the stats about Finland. I think about 35% of your bank branches closed in the last couple of years. I mean, that's the way. I mean, it's maybe hard. But that's how it's going to be. We got to remove the cost where it's unnecessary, and be smart of how we use the services.
Sure. Let's go back to Transferwise for a minute. I think your co-founder Tavit was on this very stage about 2 years ago. A lot has transpired since then in terms of the company. You've grown from 30 people to over 400 people, I think, in the last couple of years. Tell us a little bit about that journey. How has the company changed and evolved, and maybe share a little bit about what have been the hardest parts.
There's been a lot of excitement, as I said before, but of course it means a lot of growth. So 2 years ago, we had our winter day, so we bring all the company together, and it was 35 people. It was just a very tiny group of people, and now we're over 400 across 5 offices, London, a huge office in Tallinn, across the pond from here, and then we have a small office in Ukraine, we're in New York, we're in Tampa, Florida, which we call our winter office. So suddenly everyone wants to go to Tampa when the winter months come in. What's it been like? It's been hiring more people. I think I have my life is an ongoing job interview. My day starts with interviews and it kind of finishes with interviews. But this is the most valuable thing that you as a founder can do at that stage. So once you've proved out the concept with 20, 30 people, from there on, building the culture, which means hiring people or bringing the people into the team and organizing the core that will make your mission happen. And that has been the biggest thing that takes my time.
Well, maybe talk a little bit more about that. I mean, as I've sort of gotten to know you guys, you do take culture extremely seriously, and I think it's sort of one of the driving factors around many decisions that you make. Could you maybe share some of the lessons that you've learned in terms of how you think about culture?
So we're both, me and Tavat are kind of no bullshit people. We don't take bullshit, and I think Nordic people generally don't take bullshit easily. So when people talk about fluffy stuff, it feels weird. But we were actually quite smart, I think, in retrospect. About 3 years ago, we thought that we're definitely building and kind of supporting some behaviors over others. And we decided that we'll go and write down the values that unite us as a team. So what is it that what we really value as a team, the way that we operate? And we came up with 4 statements. I think the best one that's worked so far is it's customers are bigger than team, are bigger than ego. Which basically means that whenever we have like a path that we can go one way or the other, it's very easy to come to decisions, and it doesn't matter if I make the decision or someone on the shop floor. The question is very easy: which one is better for the customer? That's the one you take, and if that's your value that drives everything, that's cool. The other one is I'm pretty proud of is no drama, good karma. Like, doing a startup is hard enough. You have to avoid everything that is drama. It just makes life so much better if there's no drama in the team.
And that's why you have the sauna. That helps.
Exactly.
Yeah,
sauna definitely helps.
All right. Well, I lied. I'm going to ask you a hard question. You're playing in a very large market. It's a multi-$100 billion market. But really, moving money is a commodity service. You may have a beautiful product and so forth, but how can you build a global dominant category leader in what is really a commodity space? I mean, how do you build a moat around your business to sort of protect it from that being commoditized?
I love giving an honest answer to my investor about his investment. So yes, it's going to be a commodity. I sincerely hope and believe that in a years to come, we will have the ability to move money between countries for free. We can send email between countries for free. It's a digital thing. Money is a digital thing. It can move between countries for free, and it should be instant. So it's definitely going to be a commodity, I hope. I mean, that's what we're working on. I wish more people were working on that. But I'd like to quote, I think it was the MySQL founder who once said that, databases, it's a $10 billion business. Probably was more, actually. I'm going to make it a $2 billion business, and I'm going to keep one of them. So I think there's so much value that we're creating for people, and we just have to do it fast enough and kind of keep innovating, and that's how we build our followership.
And so what has been the secret to sort of building the leadership you have? Because there are lots of competitors today that are all offering similar products. What is it that sort of allowed you to sort of stay one step ahead of everyone else?
So it's very simple. We really listen to what people want when they move money around. And actually, so for all the competitors, there's three simple answers. They want speed. They don't think they should pay for moving money between countries, and I don't think they should much. And convenience. So those three things, and we have teams working literally on those three things, and we're still many steps ahead from anyone coming next at speed. So we're able to do money between Finland and the UK in 17 seconds. I haven't seen a bank who will be able to do that in the next 5 years. And we lower our prices as we go along. So we dropped 40% of our fees in a US to India route, just because getting more scale brings down our costs, so we can step ahead, take another step ahead for our competitors.
Well, there's probably a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience, and they're hearing you talk about, you just put your customers first, no drama, just karma, and it's simple to build, a commodity business and be the leader. So it must be quite frustrating. They're hearing this and thinking, why is it not me? But so it can't be that easy. But nonetheless, what advice would you have for people in the audience that are thinking about building the next big FinTech business? Can you give them a little bit more than that?
So there are a few things that I think it's very hard to give advice. I can talk a little bit about the patterns that I'm seeing, and Toby, you won't like this. So one of the patterns that I'm seeing with early stage founders is that everyone stresses about raising money. Honestly, everyone stresses and thinks that raising money is a big thing. We were super lucky, I would say, that we didn't raise any money for the first year that we operated. And we actually never spent any time raising money until today. Just when we need money, there are people who want to support us because we have a product, we have customers, we have a business model. So that is what matters. So keep building the product, getting in front of the customers, and stress not about raising money. So the smarter you are about building the business without a massive investment, the easier your life will be. So this is just it's a tiny piece of advice but I see a lot of people making that mistake nowadays.
And if you're going to build the next multi-billion-dollar business and you do want a little bit of money, come talk to me.
Yeah, but only after a few years.
Kristo, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with all of us.
Thanks, Toby.
Thanks, man.